Welcome to Trading Lounge and the SP 500 for the 7th of February. So I want to talk about the bigger trend, and then we're going to go in and have a look at our trading tactics for this particular trend here. So I've always had this count here where we've had wave 1 here and wave 2 here, then wave 1 and 2 and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. But one of the problems I've had with this is that the wave 4s have never really pulled back to their designated areas. So it's made me think that we could be in a different type of trend here. So yesterday I showed, I think it was yesterday, I showed the DJ here. And with the DJ here, it counts quite nicely as wave 1 and 2 here, then 1 and 2 here, then 1 and 2 here, and then would be wave 3 here. It's kind of the same, except at the moment we're looking at this on the S&P 500 with a wave 3 here, and I don't think that's the case. So I think that we're up here, and we've got a blue wave for here for this. That's what I'm thinking. So so with this scenario here, we've got this wave 4 here, but I think it's this wave 4. So we will look at it in terms of this way here. So wave 1 and 2 here, 1 and 2 here. In fact, that 2 can go to here, and then 1 and 2 in here. It's possible to get a 1 and 2 out of here, by the way, to lift it up, and then a 1 and 2. But I'll just stay with this for the time being. 1 and 2 here, and then all of this is the third wave here for the blue wave 3, blue wave 4, and then 5 waves up here for perhaps into the 34, which is a Fibonacci number, into that area there, and then we'll have a larger correction come into play here. But this larger correction here can pull back to the 38.2% retracement level, or to the wave 4 of one lesser degree, which will just bring us back to the 3200 area here, if that's going to be the case. So the other point here too, in regards to the trading levels, we're at the top of group 1 here, which is really significant. Excuse me. It's significant because if we get support on this level here, on top of the number 3 here, then the market separates itself from the closest largest number, which is the 3000. I know that's a long way away, but you take this concept and you can drill it right down into these are major trading levels and minor trading levels. You can take it into the sub levels and the micro levels, so you can keep breaking it down. But I know that once we get support on this level here, the psychology is people start to look at the next level, which is the 5 here. 5 is the second strongest number in the market after 1. So you know, what is support here? Is this support here? I don't think it is support. So support for me is basically when a market comes back and tests. See how these are being tested? So this case would be the arrival, the reaction, the first high above the level, and then the ABC pattern here, and then pushing up, and that would be our long trade over here. So we want this to push up here. We want some sort of ABC correction here for the 4th wave, and then we can go up in that way there, in that instance, and it would look a bit like this is it here. So this can be the 3300 area here. So we've had the arrival, we've had the reaction, and we're somewhere in here. So we're looking for that. Oh no, higher than that. So we're in this first high above the level here. So we may reach the 34 area here or close to it, and then have the ABC correction, and then over here. So it's a bit of a palaver and a bit of a thing, you know. I mean, normally when you're trading, depend on in any degree of structure really. Perhaps not on micro levels, but generally, you know, you would trade to here, get out, and then get back in over here. And you know, you could say, well, why don't you get out here and get back in here? Well, you can do that, but it takes a certain skill set to be able to pick the top and to pick the bottom here, and also it's just safer to understand once you've got support to move back in on support. And this gives you time while this is doing all of this here, which is the correction stage. You could be taking your money and putting it into something else that's also triggering right now in this instance here and going off, so a different sector or whatever. So that's where we are. So we can have this pattern here, or we'll end up getting the variation on that, which is like this. I doubt it, because we'll be looking at a wave 4 to pull back to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree, but I just thought I'd chuck that in there. The only other pattern is the overshoot pattern, which is this one here, but we're definitely not getting that, because we've already stopped at this level here, and we've had the arrival and the reaction here, so we're not in that space. So we've had the arrival, the reaction, and now we're looking for the first high above the level, and then the ABC correction. So there's two things that we could also look at here as well, is that the move up here, once we count our 5 waves up here, we could, we need to be, we don't want to fight the trend, and we want to be with the trend, but we also need to stay with the evidence. So this move here, moving up here, we'd be looking at that moving up in 5 waves. Now if it had 5 waves, it may just pull back to the 50-60% retracement level and have that as wave 1 and 2, and then go for 3, 4 and 5. So we need to be mindful of that as well. But otherwise, this first 5 waves here, we'll look at this as the A wave, the B wave and the C wave, but we'll be taking both of these counts into account here, so we're not going to miss anything, but I'm just explaining what we're up against. So our task at the moment is to track this 5 waves up here close to the 34 or wherever, and then we'll see that pull back into this space here. So yeah, that's it. So just on the drilling back into this now, so on the 4-hour chart here, I've just playing both things here. So we've had it as this wave 4, but we'll probably migrate. I had this grayed out yesterday, but now I'm going to bring it in here because I'm talking about it twice now. It's still sitting on this side here, so eventually we'll put it over this side here once I get a bit more evidence. But at the moment too, if it is this wave 3 and wave 4 here, then that's wave 5 here, and that tops out here as well. But yeah, back to the main game here, is that we're trying to track 5 waves up here, and we'll look at that in some detail. And the question is that will we come back to the wave 4 of 1 lesser degree? So that will probably come over to here at that stage, and this wave 3 will be, copy that, put that over there. We don't really need that. That's not really the case. So we've got 2 scenarios here. We either have wave, I'll put that in front here for starters, because that's because it's a dangerous situation. We'll put that there first, and we'll either top out here, either here or here, and then we'll have an ABC back to the 50-60% retracement level, and then we'll push off from there, or we're going to come deeper into wave 4 here. And if you've had a look at the wave, all the wave 4s, the previous wave 4s, this one here and the previous one, which is smaller than this, this one's bigger than the previous one, but it's basically the same price action, the same pattern basically. So what we could expect here, just removing this here, is we can just get the same sort of pattern again. So we would come down from the high here, we would come down here somewhere, then we'd have an A and a B, come in here somewhere, and a C wave here, and then the C wave here. So this would be the pattern that would be, which we could just put on the table. We could rule it out, but it would be the obvious one to move into first. So we can just look at it like this here. So we'd also expect this pattern here to be bigger than this pattern here too, because we're moving through time and space. The structure and the degree of structure is getting larger, and that's why we use the trading levels as a Fibonacci price ratio. There's also psychology in the price as well. Psychology is just where the volume is. People buy and sell on certain numbers more than others, and so on and so on. And yeah, it should be bigger than this one here, more time consuming. The trick is not to lose money in this wave 4. That's what wave, that's what the go is. So let's move in a bit closer now that we understand what wave 4s we could be in. The next thing now is to have a closer look at this particular trend here. And yeah, we're above this level here now, so we'll see how we go. I think there's still a little bit more to the upside here, but let's go in and have a bit of a look at all of this. So on the 1 hour chart here, the first thing I do is want to have a talk about the trade. So we've long here. We took some percentage profit here, and now we're up here. So I've done a little bit of work on this, and we can put the stop just under there. So the stop will go at, not on the, never put stops on whole numbers like this, on like 40 here. So the stop, and you don't put it at number 9, because if it hits 40, it will spike and take that out. So your next number down is your number 8 here. So 8 is where all the orders are going to be gathered. So you want that as your support there. So you want your stop under that. So your stop can go at number 7, at 37 or 36. You'll get much better results at number 6, and this is also with stop trading. So the last number ends in 6 rather than 7, but you'll get away with 7. But you'll get better results in the long run after. So you don't put it at 40 at the whole number, at 10. You don't put it at 9, and you don't put it at 8, because that's 8 is where all the order. You have a look at the market depth. That's where all the orders are going to be sitting. So you need to be under that. That's your saving grace there. So what we're going to do is we're going to put this here at 3336, the stop. And we can also look to do half a trade on the short side here. How far it'll get you down, I'm not quite sure. We may just run into a situation where we get an A and a B and a C wave here, and then move back up here. So just be mindful of that. So you're trading against the trend, so you want to use a smaller position size on that. And otherwise, we will look to maintain to go to the upside here if that's going to be the case. And if that's the case, then we could also take another small position on top of this one here. There is a case for counting 5 waves down through here, but this wave 4 here would overlap wave 1 here. So it's probably be better off counted as an A and a B and a C wave here. This can also be counted as an A and a B and a C to this point here, so that's why we'll go long above that. So a move above that would give us an impulse wave. You can also look to add another position if you wanted to on top of the 50. So what you could look for is, this would be sub-level, so micro levels would be 51, 52 and 53 here. So a tested support on 53 would see to 55, and if it's going to move to 55, then you're going to be going higher from that point. So we'll be looking at 265, and possibly we can go all the way up to 34 here, as I mentioned before. I don't know if that's the case when I look at it this small, so I'm just going to bring this down here, but certainly up to the 72 there. So a trading stop is the best stop. So let's just dive into this a little bit further, and I'll show you what I've done here. So this, first of all, this wave 1 here, when you look at the cash market, it's just 5 waves straight up to this point, and then the back here. But in this case here, you could look at this as wave 1 and back for wave 2 here, then up for 1 and back for 2 here. So that could be a count there as well. So it's a little bit tricky. We're on the hour, so we'll go to the 15-minute chart. So this is how I've sort of counted it here in terms of 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 here, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 here, and then 1 and 2 and 5 waves up here for 3, 4 and 5 here to make 5. So a top being in place here. Like I said, there is a case for having 5 waves down as 1 and 2, and there's 5 waves in this sequence here for wave 3, wave 4 here, but it overlaps wave 1, but I've seen that happen before. And this would be an A and a B and a C and a D and an E wave in here as a triangle pattern for that wave 4. It's a little bit complicated, but then down for 5 here. So that's possible at that point. So if it was going to retrace back up, that's at 50-60% retracement level. So and in that move up here, we can count this as an A and a B, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here. We'll have to see that on the tick chart. But having that as an ABC pattern here, and then moving down through here, it leaves this one here as being corrective as an A and a B and a C here, because we're just touching those highs there. So this makes it bullish corrective, this little guy here. That's why I'm thinking to go long here. This is where our stop is here at the, well, I've got it at 8 here. It can just be dropped a little bit further down at 6. You can have it higher there, but you don't want to get spiked out. And you can also go short at that point there as well. I mean, technically, you could go short under there. So I'll just leave that with you to decide. but you can see that this is the closest largest number here, the number 5, the midpoint as we call it, and the market hasn't got it as support yet, has it? So if you want a safe trade, then you'd wait for this to be the support here. So you'd need to move up. It's reacting. It's already reacted here in 3 waves, so there'll be the first high above the level, and there'll be some sort of retesting here, and then you want that one there, and then you can get into here as well and find another one in here, but basically just build in on these on all these highs that go through here. Yeah, so that's how it can be counted to the upside here. On the tick chart, I think I've got it going up another move here, so I'll have to bring in more data here on this 100 ticks. This is where I count it differently. I count this is 1 here and 2 here, and then 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here for the 3rd wave here and the 4th wave here. And so from the 4th wave here, I find it a little bit tricky to count the whole 5-wave structure up. I can count 1 and 2 here, and 1 and 2 here, and then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, the 3rd and 4th here, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 here. Even there's a bit dodgy in here, but that will do. And then I'll look at this as an A wave here, an ABC for the A wave, because you can see really nice 5-wave structure in this one here, and 1 and 2 and 3 and 4 and 5 in here. So an A and a B and a C here, because wave 4 here, if I look at this as 1, 2, 3, 4 here, this overlaps wave 1. So technically we could label this here as to check that, but we basically want to count 5 waves starting from the low here. I mean, I find it helpful sometimes to work back the other way, but so this would be an A, B, C, D, and E in here for this B wave here. So B waves and wave 4s can both have triangles in them, of course. So then it leaves this here. So we could count this as an A wave, a B wave here, then 1 with 5 waves in it, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 for 1 and 2 and 3 and 4, but overlapping here. And then 5 here, so an A and a B and a C. So we can have that as the top here. But my problem here is that this looks like an ABC pattern through here. As soon as that top is taken out there, this top here, then that's invalidated at that point, and it makes it bullish at that point. So we'll be going up from there. So you can go long here, and you can have your stop here. We should be pushing up higher from that point. So I think that we need to count these as series of 1s and 2s and look higher here. So in the first instance, we'll look up into group 2 here. Yeah, and also too, we know if Friday closes strong, well then Monday's going to follow through. The likelihood of it following through is on the cards. You know, the Wednesdays and the Thursdays are normally the sort of choppy days that take out your stops. So yeah, anyway, the long and short of it is support on the 50 here, the midpoint. Then you can trade up to group 2 here, probably into the 72 area through here. And if it's really going to push up, well then it'll take it up into the 34 area here. That would be the next main target area for that. All right, I think I'll leave it at that. Thanks for tuning in. Cheers.